I am so excited today to have the one and only and amazing Kelly Bensimon. So thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy, hectic schedule to join me today, Kelly. Hi, and how are you? Tell us how you're doing.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. Just very, not, it's like I hate when people say how busy they are because, like, busy doing what? I just, I'm like very happy with the state of the market, with where we are in New York, California, Florida, the Hamptons. It's been a really, really, great couple of weeks. And I'm just really excited about, how real estate is, becoming really one of the most impressive asset classes that we have right now.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit. Are you, I mean, there's so much to talk about, but are you still living at the police building, which of course is iconic, and you are the go-to person for the police building?
So I've lived in the police building for 30 years. I'm the broker specialist here. I raised the price of two bedrooms from $2 million to $4.1 million. I raised the rent in the building from $9,000 to $13,000. So, here in the police building, one of the things that's incredible about New York City is that we have these landmark buildings, right. The Beresford, 740. There's a handful of some of the most iconic buildings in New York City, and they are really the kingpins of like how the market will trade and will continue to trade. And when we see that a co-op, which is a highly exclusive building that's operated by a board, when we see that there's transactions in properties like this, especially something that, a building that was built in 1909, we really know that the market's doing well. I mean, we both know that last week was really great with, 55 contracts over 4 million. This week was not really the same, but we're still doing very, very well with 29 contracts. And for me, one thing that I look towards is, because I represent a co-op, for me, real estate is one of the largest asset classes. And what does that mean? That means that, when my clients are buying their first apartment, right, that's the first key to generational wealth.
Absolutely.
And when they're selling their last apartment, that's the key to the forecasting of their generational wealth. And so, real estate isn't just like for, you and I both work in, ultra high net worth, ultra luxury. And, I try to, impart the knowledge on, all of my clients that buying real estate is so important, whether that's for your children, whether that's for yourself, whether that's an investment property, but generational wealth and recognizing that real estate is a very, very lucrative asset class is really
absolutely good. Kelly, but I just want to go back to that stat because that is incredible, and congratulations. You basically almost, my brain doesn't go quite that fast, but you've almost doubled what the police building has been getting historically in terms of sales and rentals. I mean, bravo. That is incredible. How can you just tell us how you did that? Because that's definitely something you should be starting your own master class, because that's seriously, congratulations. Can you tell us how did you do that? That's amazing.
So, how did I do that? I mean, people talk about marketing, and for me, like, I think of real estate for me is not about marketing. Real estate for me is about selling actual value. Like, what is the value add of the real estate where you're living, how you're living? And so everyone talks about marketing. They talk about, staging. They talk about the interiors. They talk about the aesthetic. But at the end of the day, it's really about what you are buying, what the value is, and what the value is going to be. And so, when I came to the police building 30 years ago as a model, this was an area that was super lucrative for me because it was easy access in and out of
Right.
the airports, a lot of photographer studios, because obviously Soho is like the major
The
hub
hub.
of
Right.
the art industry. And so we had a lot of lofts here, a lot of photographer studios here. So for me, it was really, really easy and lucrative for me to, to live here and work here. And then later on, when when I started to sell the building, I started to realize, we can talk about price per square foot, and that does have a lot to do with how you can price an apartment,
Right.
but we don't have anything that's comparable. So the price per square foot in Soho compared to the price per square foot in the police building, it's kind of like you're comparing a unicorn to something that's not a unicorn. And so there
Because of its
really,
uniqueness, or just
because of the uniqueness, because of the size, because of the infrastructure, because of the quality of living.
right.
It's in a class by itself,
Us.
like those other buildings I was talking about. Very similar to the Beresford, very similar to 740, very similar to the Dakota. And so because of all of those things, I just packaged that in the right way. And I said, here's who lives here. Here's why they live here. Here's why you should live here. Here's your ability to move up into a building where you'd want to live forever.
Right. Well, that's
And I
yeah.
think it's just a different kind of mindset.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset than just saying like, hey, I want to buy something, buy here. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
at
No,
least
of course. I
more
mean,
than
there's,
anybody.
yeah, I know. Well, again, congratulations. So let's jump forward a little bit into reality television and how you think that has helped, perhaps not helped. What are your takeaways? Because obviously a lot of people know you from the show years ago, and then you did a comeback. How have you leveraged that? Because I know you do incredible branding, etc. I'd love to hear a little bit about how this has been helpful for you. Or are there any things that you would have done differently?
Um, you know, well, first of all, thank you. Before I even started on reality, I had another show that was on Plum TV, which was so much fun. And basically what that it was called Behind the Hedges. And, I swam with literal sharks, and then I would interview the masters of the universe. So it was this wonderful juxtaposition of the best, doing the most extreme, fun, wild things, and then interviewing, these incredible humans who are the game changers. In the world. And before that, I started Elle Accessories. So I started that incredible magazine, the first offspring for Hachette. I also started Gotham magazine. I wrote a beautiful anthology for Anna Wintour at the Met. So even before I was on television, I was a big model for a long time. And so even before I even went to television, I was very proficient in narratives,
Right.
storytelling,
Right.
and just being like, really focusing on things that were authentic and that really resonated before storytelling was even like a buzzword. I mean, now everyone's like, tell your own story. I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't tell your story. Maybe you should tell someone else's story and maybe talk about why it's important. But I really was very interested and intrigued in personal narratives and social history. And that's really what brought me to real estate, and why I actually, I resonate really well in real estate, because I have this background and then I have a education in business. And so the two really, really work hand in hand. I think one thing that's, reality TV can be a blessing and a curse. I think for some people it's a very, very difficult way to transition into another industry. For me, my clients are my fans, and I've had such amazing success with a lot of my clients in, New York, Malibu, Encinitas, Florida, the Hamptons, Palm Beach, all over Florida. And it's just been really, really fun working with people who, are lovers of the American dream and just having so much fun with women who are, living well and, having the best time and, arguing freely and just, having a great time. And I think that's been, it's been really, really fun for me.
I
And
I love that term, arguing freely. Tell me a little
yes,
bit. What is a free argue? Or I like that, arguing freely. How would you? I want to know
I
a little
just
bit
think,
more about
people,
that.
women like to talk. That's how we, people, you can call it venting, you can call it whatever you want, but
Right.
women like to communicate. And that's how that's our
Right.
superpower is our communication skills. Sometimes the way that we communicate is a little bit more, difficult than others,
Right.
but, that's really what, why we're so successful is because of our communication skills.
And
And I think what's fun about watching a show like The Housewives of New York is that you're watching women, whether they know each other or whether they don't know each other, communicate with each other. And so sometimes it works out great. Sometimes it doesn't work out at all.
right. So what do you think of? I mean, obviously, it's the Housewives is iconic. What are your personal feelings about it no longer being it's sort of being canceled or taken off the air?
I definitely think that the Real Housewives of New York and of all the states are going to definitely be here forever.
Yes.
It's human nature.
Right.
We love to. We're ultimate voyeurs. It's never going to go away. I mean, we saw it with Hitchcock and Rear Window, and it's never, ever, ever going to go away. People always want to know what goes on behind closed doors. And, people are always curious as to like what they don't know and can't have. And I think that's one reason why the show is always going to be a huge success. And so, it's exciting and it's fun. And, at the end of the day, Lisa, like, you and I, are very, very hardworking women. And there's so many women that are like us. They may not live in New York City.
Right.
They may live in Kansas. They may live in Michigan. They may
Right.
live, wherever they live.
Right. They
But
might
there
not
are
be here.
so many hardworking women that are all over this country who just want to just watch someone else
Right.
and just not think about like how they're living their life. And I just think that that's never going to go away. And you
Right.
know what? Thank God.
Yeah, right.
Thank
So
God.
it's here forever. Tell us a little bit about. I've watched. You have. It's not a dating podcast, but tell me a little bit about what I've been seeing out there, where you're talking about dating, and I've been following you and listening.
So I had this amazing podcast. Thank you for asking on iHeartRadio. It's called I Do Part Two, and
Right.
I was
Exactly.
invited to be a part of this podcast shortly after I called off my wedding 4 days before I was supposed to get married. And the reason that I called off my wedding is because my ex-fiance would not sign my prenup. I strongly believe that any woman, whether you've made $5 or $50 million, that whatever money that you have, you should be able to preserve and protect. And sometimes, depending on the state, sometimes the state isn't so much in your favor. And by the way, one thing about the law, there's no emotion. Doesn't care. The law does not care if you're in love. The law doesn't care if they cheated. The law doesn't care about anything. The law is based on precedence, which means the past. And so, whatever state you live in, whatever happens to you, it's based on the law.
Right.
And so in order to protect yourself, not only from yourself, but from other people, it's nice to be able to have respect for the law and make it work in your favor.
And what was the reaction? Because that was really last minute. I mean, I can only imagine you must have been getting a lot of reactions to canceling something very sort of at the last moment, shall we say?
I actually my real estate business started to skyrocket after that
Wow,
because a
really?
lot of my clients were like, you are so savvy
Right.
and you are so sophisticated and you are so protective of yourself.
Hmm.
And I've had multiple people say this to me, that if you protect yourself like that, you're going to protect me like that.
Right.
And,
Wow.
I think that's one of my superpowers with my clients is that I will go to bat for them. I will protect them, and I will make sure that they get the best price. And I've done it over and over again. I mean, my first big deal was, 40% over ask, the number one deal downtown at 42
That's
million during COVID.
incredible. When you say 40% over ask, let me again. So it was around 25 million and you got it up to over 40?
42. Mm-hmm.
And it was originally in the 20s?
It was 30.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
So you negotiated over 12 million. I mean, these are, pretty these are unprecedented, the numbers that you've gotten. That's so.
Well, they don't happen. I'm a long-term,
Right.
long game, advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm not like I'm not your everyday, penny closer.
You're definitely not, for sure.
No,
You're
no,
not.
I'm not.
Just in case anybody was wondering, no, definitely not.
No, I'm not that. I, take my clients really seriously. Like literally, I was just, I just walked in swim week, which was so exciting. And
How
then
was that?
yesterday,
How
it
was
was
that?
beautiful. It was so beautiful, Lisa. I mean,
You
to be
looked
57 and
incredible.
walking in
Wow,
swim week, I
amazing.
mean, that's just like what?
Was it fun?
And it was really fun. It was really,
Yeah.
I mean, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I was scared to death, but it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I got to look at one of the most beautiful new properties that's not on the market for $55 million on Venetian Way, which was really incredible. So I feel grateful that I'm in this unbelievable world. It's a world, it's a cabinet of curiosity. And, I feel very grateful that I'm able to, provide the best of the best for my clients.
And so tell me, how is dating now? Since you're doing this podcast, how is the new life for Kelly dating?
Dating is great. I told my executive producer, I said, I'm not going to go on this show unless I work with a therapist. And so I worked with a therapist and then I filmed my podcast. So I was applying what I was learning. And, it was really, really insightful at opening for me because when I was talking to someone, like whether it would be you or a friend or someone that I was meeting for the first time, the way that I, was listening to what they were saying was different than before. Before it was just kind of like I was, one of those people that, waited to, answer the question. And now I just am very open to really like understanding, what the question is and, why it's important to me.
Okay. Well, I think we are going to take a break, a quick pause. Thank you, Kelly.
Ultimate Diamond is New York City's most established family-owned jeweler. With over 65 years of experience, Ultimate is renowned for its exceptional, custom-crafted diamond jewelry, its bespoke engagement ring designs, and its ability to source rare, distinguished timepieces. Ultimate has built a legacy of timeless craftsmanship and discretion, making it a trusted name among those who value refined luxury. Learn more at ultimatediamond.com.
What do you really need to know about buying or selling a home? First, it's serious business. And it's complicated. There's a lot of money on the table, and emotion too. You need an agent who knows the ropes. So, whether you're buying or selling your home, work with professionals who have a mastery of the craft.
And we're back. So are you listening more now when you're on dates? Is that what I'm hearing? You're more thoughtful, paying more attention?
I am listening so much more. I'm just much more discerning than I've ever been. And I also have learned some really key lessons. Like one thing is to like cut the caution tape. A lot of women are so cautious and they are bringing the baggage from their ex relationships or marriages to new relationships. And I just, I feel adamant about really, really cutting that caution tape and just being open to being in the moment. Because Lisa, you know what? This day is never going to come again. We're never going to be on this podcast again the same way. This day is never ever going to come again. So we have a choice. We can either be super positive and be proactive about where we are and how we're responding, or we can sit here and bring all the bad news to something that could be amazing good news.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
so cut your caution red tape. And then, when my biggest thing that I do with my clients, and you and I both know this, is like the needs and the wants. So what are the needs and the wants of your clients? It's so important in the sales industry. And I feel like it's really important also in your personal life, like finding out what that partner needs from you and what they want from you as well.
Well,
And
is it sort
you
of like, sorry, is it
No.
like negotiable and not like what would be your non-negotiable? What is a definite non-negotiable for you?
Well, I also feel like like those boundaries and those non-negotiables when you're like in your second chapter. I mean, I'm in my 50s, and so I feel like that's kind of something where I mean, obviously, drugs, alcohol, those kind of normal things. Like any kind of like bad behavior is totally inappropriate. But for the most part, I feel like, men and women alike, because we're in our second chapters, we are different and we are, we're mature. And so I mean, I'm not that mature, but we're supposed to be mature. And so, how we respond and react to each other is different than when we were like in our 20s, trying to navigate the brave new world.
So do you have any must-have when you say, so do you have any like something that you really are drawn toward at this second chapter?
I mean, for me, something that I wouldn't say it's a must-have, but I'm really looking for a partner in life crime. I want someone that we can build something together. I'm in such a building stage of my life right now. I've educated my girls. I put every single cent that I've ever made into their brains, and no one can take that away from them. And they're so unbelievably beautiful and so mindful and so clever. And I'm just very proud of them. And so now it's time for me to, build my own life and to, I'm just in that very formative stage of, really being proactive about this next chapter.
So it sounds like
I want someone to walk with me.
Right. So it sounds like it's almost you've been a model, an incredibly successful model. You have had so much success you have two incredible children. You've done television, you've broken records, and now this next chapter is for you and a potential, partner to build the next period of whatever, a long-term relationship and business partner, emotional partner. And how far into it are you going to discuss a postnup or prenup, I should say? What date does that come up? Because last time it was obviously at the end. When would you suggest to women who are listening to you, when does that subject become relevant or appropriate?
Well, the last time, because it wasn't at the end, it was right before. But my father had just passed, and so there was a period of time that we were where I needed to tie a bow on some financial situations, and so. I think with the whole thing with the postnup and the prenup, I just think it's really important for men and women alike to be just mindful of their own finances. I think that's really important. And again, like, it's not about the amount; it's about really, really taking care. And that's a big step. That's a big adult step. That's like putting big boy pants on and big girl pants on. It's just like when you're buying a home, having all your finances in order and knowing what you can and cannot buy. Having your finances in order so you can protect your future is super, super important. It's very similar. And that's just something that comes with age. Sometimes people are younger and they're more mindful about it. And sometimes it takes people, a second.
Well, it's something to learn. It's something one learns, right?
It is. There is a learning curve to it.
Sure.
And there's no time for it. There's no timing for it. I think that, if I when I meet that person and I'm serious about that person, I will make the decision. I will talk to them about, what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And, sometimes prenups are not necessarily the right thing for a relationship, depending on the situation. Sometimes, for me at that time, it was very important because of certain circumstances.
Right.
And I'm so proud of myself for doing that, because it really set the stage for a lot of women and men to protect themselves.
For
And
sure.
I don't think people think about that. They just don't.
Well,
They don't
also
think about
it's sort of amazing how your business took off after that point too, because people saw you as not as a closer, as someone who is going to, as you said there, you're going to fight for your clients and negotiate a great deal. You even did it in your personal life. So
I think that's a huge indicator of like who you are, like how you handle it. People will say like, well, their professional life and their personal life are so separate. And I
no.
think of that as the opposite.
Right.
I think
agree.
of, you have like such a strong sense of self, you take really good care of yourself. You take really good care of your family. That's how I am as well. And I think that that's, one reason why I work well in this industry is because people can trust me.
Right.
And, I don't trust a lot of people.
Right.
I don't trust a lot of people with my asset classes. So, I would only trust people who I know and who I knew could handle, what they were doing and how they were doing it.
For sure. Someone that can definitely get in the ring and fight for you. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for spending
Thanks,
this time with
Lisa.
me. You're amazing.
Congratulations. You look
And
amazing, by the way.
yeah, well, you look amazing.
Gorgeous.
By the way, what did you do to prep for Miami, for your runway?
So in the past 3 months, I kind of changed my whole self.
What did you
Fortunately,
do?
I'm exposed to the best doctors
Right.
in the country who have been really exposing me to, the best of the best in terms of like, peptides and glutathione and these incredible IVs. And I've always been a very athletic, sporty girl.
Exactly. Right.
Always
Absolutely.
taking really good care of myself. There's no rhyme or reason to, everyone's talking about longevity. Well, longevity starts with, when you're 20s. If you take care of yourself in your 20s, your 30s are going to be great. Your 40s are going to be great. Your 50s are going to be even better. And now with everything that we have, in terms of, whether it's, I don't take stem cells, but we have everything from stem cells to IVs to, all these different peptides that are really, really helping us to be better versions of ourselves, which is incredible. And so I've been working with some great doctors and doing some really interesting biohacks, which have been really fascinating. And I've noticed a huge difference in my wellness and my energy levels and my hair, my skin, my nails.
Okay, we're going to do a quick round robin. So just looking at my questions here. What is your favorite charity or philanthropic endeavor, whatever?
I've been working with Food Bank here in New York City for over 13 years. So my girls and I work. We work in the everywhere in the warehouse. We work with the seniors. We serve food. We do a lot of different activations when it comes to Food Bank.
Okay, great. And what's your best and sort of go-to to decompress?
My best and go-to to decompress is to lay on my couch, my 7th Avenue couch with my dog Tarzan, watching, Love Island.
Have you seen Sirens?
I have seen Sirens. It's amazing. Julianne Moore's amazing.
Isn't she incredible?
Oh,
I love her.
Beauty.
She's amazing.
I love her.
Love her. What's your favorite restaurant downtown? Let's just go downtown because that's
my favorite restaurant is St. Ambrose. I love St. Ambrose. I go there all the time.
That's a classic.
Yeah,
and my last question to you: what's your dream vacation? If you could go anywhere now, well, where would you be going?
Honestly, like I just learned to play polo last summer, and my dream vacation is just like what I do on the weekends is driving to the Hamptons, playing polo, hanging out with my kids, having lunch with my friends, getting a car wash, and then coming back to the city and being really refreshed for the next day.
Perfect. Okay.
You're like getting your car washed. I'm like, yes, I
No,
love it.
listen, I get it. Exactly. I love it. I love it. Okay, Kelly, you are amazing, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you so
I'm
much.
so happy for you, Lisa. Always,
Yeah, and
always.
congratulations for all the incredible things you continue to do.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.